Apart from just that financial support that he needed, he really needed someone to talk to, someone he could share his, concerns, grievances, his call for help, right? Which normally, especially, I see it more difficult in guys than for girls to share it and express it. And that's where being there, being able to listen, being able to hear where the challenges are, trying to link him up, giving him, okay, we can guide you, we can support you, tell us what your problems are. If you think that you're concerned about whether you'll have a roof over your head, let us work with who we know to ensure there's a roof over your head. You're worried about your mental health, let us make sure that your mental health is taken care of. You don't have clothes, let's work together. Let's see what resources do you need that is just not finance based. And getting that today, that individual has not only graduated with magna cum laude, he has also secured a very lucrative job in one of the big four. And he just, in fact, in a recent meeting, came back and shared with us his entire journey.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining me today on NowBoarding. My conversation today is with Avnish Desai, and Avnish is going to take us through part of his journey, his time spent at Singapore Management University, and what he does now, and what is his involvement with SMU, plus a lot of other stuff. So I'm looking forward to this conversation. Thank you, Avnish.
Thank you, Payal, for having me.
Okay, Avnish, as I'm not sure how much you know about Now Boarding, my podcast, but it's essentially about journeys and about people who are, in a way, creating impact and in whatever way and making a difference. So I wanted to ask you, when you look back, what part of the SMU journey most shaped how you are today and the kind of opportunities that have been come to you after being a part of SMU?
Okay, so there are actually two moments. The first one is actually even before I joined SMU.
Okay.
So the funny story is that ever since I was a child, I always wanted to be a dentist.
Okay.
I come from a business family, but business was never something that I thought about. So my entire education was around the subject of dentistry in that sense.
Okay.
Doing the sciences, making sure I scored the grades. And fast forward to when I did my A levels, tennis came into my life, and I decided to play a fair bit more tennis than trying to focus on my grades. So, a long story short, I got my grades, which did not qualify me to study dentistry in Singapore. But interesting enough, my economics professor, he just told me that I just want you to consider looking at SMU. Since I know your journey about dentistry, don't be disheartened. If you want to pursue it, go ahead. No problem at all. But just think about SMU. And I was like, okay. And he sent me to meet the then director of admissions, Mr. Alan Goh. And at back then, I didn't know who he was, to be very honest. As an 18-year-old finishing your A levels, you're not really into understanding who you're meeting yet. And I had this brilliant conversation with this gentleman. And at the end of the conversation, he just told me, are you intending to apply to SMU? And I was like, my professor told me to consider doing so. And he said, do it. I think you'll be a perfect fit. And I hadn't gone for the open house then. I hadn't read much about SMU. But the assurance that was provided to me was like, okay, maybe I should give this a go. And lo and behold, went for the open house. Mind you, at then, SMU wasn't in its current campus.
Yeah.
The current campus was being constructed, and the open house was at Raffles City. And it was in a ballroom that they had then recreated what university life would be for SMU students. And that blew me away. The out of box thinking, the ability to envision something out of an empty space, that attracted me. And they were not bothered like what grades you had or where are you from. It's welcome, just welcoming me. So that was one aspect. The second was when I served on the student union. I had the opportunity thereafter to represent the university at two levels, including representing Singapore. One was the APEC summit that was held in Singapore in 2009, where I represented both SMU and Singapore as a member of the Voices of the Future delegation. And the second was the year after, where I went to China as part of the ASEAN China Youth Dialogue. And I had the chance to even give a speech on televised TV in China on behalf of Singapore,
In
which
English.
I managed to throw in some Mandarin words with the help of my peers. And never in my wildest dream would I have imagined getting such an opportunity. And today, a lot of my friends, a lot of the experiences that I learned and picked up from SMU has actually shaped me, shaped my thinking. In fact, gave me my first job opportunity out of a crisis that I dealt with in SMU. And it just teaches you one thing. You cannot imagine where opportunities will lie, and you always have to keep an open mind. Don't assume that opportunities can only come in a certain manner.
Yeah,
It can exist anywhere, everywhere, with anyone.
yeah.
And that's something that I've hold on pretty much to today. Anyone who I meet, anyone who I discuss things with, I never know what opportunity lies ahead. And that's what keeps me going.
Yeah, so essentially, SM opened so many doors for you, not
Indeed.
just in terms of education or opportunities, but it also, yeah, opportunities most certainly, but it also gave you a sense of belonging and a sense that you should never give up and you should always try because you never know what lies ahead. And if you don't try, you could miss an opportunity and there should be no regrets in life.
Yes.
But I'm saying that, so I think, so in that sense, SMU has a very special place for you, heart. And is that what propelled you to give back to SMU? Because like there is a phrase that I have heard which says, I love impact without totals. So,
Mm.
what kind of a meaningful impact do you think that you are being able to create with your now volunteering involvement with SMU?
That's a brilliant question. You're right. For me as well, I don't believe in actually determining how I'm able to make a difference.
Yeah.
If I have the opportunity to make the difference, I would like to grab that. And particularly the cost of education is something that's been dear to me and to my family. And given that background, seeing the elders in the household do their volunteer services, my elder cousins and brothers doing so. And that kept me motivated to wanting to always give back. In SMU, I'm currently involved in two areas. One is I'm the co-chair of the SMU Alumni Philanthropy Council. And the second is I am actually part of the Alumni Mentorship Program. And these two, I would say, programs, if I can call it, or two areas of opportunities that I have a chance to volunteer with, gives me such a different experience. With the mentorship program, I meet various individuals with various backgrounds, and it becomes a two-way learning process. As a mentor, you are expected to help shape and guide your mentees. But at the end of each mentoring duration, I feel I've taken away more from this entire journey than as
I
opposed to me sharing
sorry
that.
to interrupt, but I completely can associate with what you're saying because with I have two shows now, Boarding and Melting Pot. And with every conversation, and I don't know, I've had hundreds of conversations because my shows have been broadcast since 2020. So every conversation that I have is so different from the previous. That's one. And two, with every conversation, I step back and I say, oh, I have learned something new today. So it's like I'm in constant learning mode just by
Exactly.
talking to so many different people. So I can completely understand where you're coming from when you say that with every mentee, you take away something, right?
Yeah, the whole concept of impact, right? It's
Yeah.
not about what you can do for others, it's
Yeah,
also what you can do for yourself.
correct.
Just knowing that you have maybe inspired someone or helped push or nudge someone in the right direction. Whether the outcome turns out favorable or not, that's a separate matter. But that ability and the opportunity to do, I think that's significant. And I see that more pertaining in my work with the Alumni Philanthropy Council. As a council, we sit down, we brainstorm ideas, we work together with the Office of Advancement. We try to innovate and think, what can we do to make a difference? And every time we think that are we in the right direction, we get an opportunity to meet a beneficiary and you hear their stories, you know you're making the right thing. You're taking the right decision. You're making a value contribution. And that to me, in terms of defining it as an impact, is immeasurable. And that's what I truly love about.
So, what are a couple of projects that have really stood out for you where you have felt a sense of fulfillment, a sense of achievement that, yes, there has been an impact?
As a council, we've actually, so interesting enough, we did a research last year, and we are one of the only really formalized councils in the world that is run by alums. And the beauty of it is that we have an equal opportunity to partake and support students. It's not where we're okay, just coming in, giving our ideas, and then they're kept away. No, there's strong dialogue, strong engagements, the ability to work the ground. We actually worked with past beneficiaries. We hear their stories. Okay, where do you think the support could have been? Where do you think it's lacking? What could we have done differently? We take that back, we discuss what worked, what doesn't work, and then what we can do. So the first, I would say the first project would be this SMU Alumni Infinity Fund. This was unique. This was launched in around 2020, somewhere in the first quarter, and it was the first endowment fund fully funded by alumni for SMU juniors.
Wow.
So the target was to raise $1 million across 100 beneficiaries. And mind you, 2020 was the start of COVID, right? And with COVID, a lot of people faced difficulties, and some of us, our peers, were having job issues, and we were wondering whether would this work. But that strength, that pull, that push to ensure that we could make a difference, we achieved our target by the end of 2021.
That's amazing. So you're saying that there were 100 beneficiaries,
100
alumni
who
who got
contributed
together to,
to
okay.
raise $1 million.
And how many people benefited from it?
So this is an endowed fund. It
Okay.
is in perpetuity. Every year, five students would be getting a scholarship.
Okay.
So that is in perpetuity. So in
Oh,
10 years, we would have helped 50. In
that's
100, we are
amazing.
getting 500 students. Yes.
Yeah, wow. That truly is an impact, which, and for you to have achieved it during very trying times because of the pandemic, I think that's an incredible story. And kudos to each and every one of you for having been
Thank you.
able to achieve that. I want to ask you how, in terms of, everyone talks about financial access, right? But
Yes.
what are the non financial barriers that you think students are still struggling with?
I would say they're linked, but generally those who require financial support often come from backgrounds that have challenges that are not really associated with finances. They could be issues where their families are broken. They've come from challenges of their own. It could be learning difficulties. It could be having seen different things in their life which we wouldn't want anyone to see.
Yeah,
And I think one of the biggest thing that carries forward is the concept of not your mental health, right? So you have your financial stress, but at the same time, you may be carrying these burdens that, okay, I'm very proud of this one now alum. Back then, he was a student. came from a very difficult background to the point where he was uncertain about the future. Family was broken. He was like the father figure for the family. And apart from just that financial support that he needed, he really needed someone to talk to, someone he could share his, concerns, grievances, his call for help, right? Which normally, especially, I see it more difficult in guys than for girls to share it and express it. And that's where being there, being able to listen, being able to hear where the challenges are, trying to link him up, giving him, okay, we can guide you, we can support you. Tell us what your problems are. If you think that you're concerned about whether you'll have a roof over your head, let us work with who we know to ensure there's a roof over your head. You're worried about your mental health. Let us make sure that your mental health is taken care of. You don't have clothes. Let's work together. Let's see what resources do you need that is just not finance based. And getting that today, that individual has not only graduated with magna cum laude, he has also secured a very lucrative job in one of the big four. And he just, in fact, in a recent meeting, came back and shared with us his entire journey.
Wow.
And you can see that transformation from 4 years ago to now, where that non-financial areas that as a team we work together with him, it's transformed him amazingly. And his words back to us is, I want to give back.
Yeah, that's so incredible because he obviously it changed his life. So if it could change his life and now he is in a position to change someone else's
Versus.
life,
Exactly.
and for him to come forward and say, now it's my turn to give
Yeah.
back, I think that's quite amazing. I want to Tembusu tree.
The Musu trees,
Yeah.
yes.
So, can you? I know I've heard a little bit of a background on the Tembusu tree planting at SMU,
Okay.
but when I spoke with Desmond, he wasn't too sure about the whole concept of it. So, if you're aware of it and familiar with it, I'd like. He did tell me his own personal experience of how he felt connected with the tree when it was in the previous campus and how it's been moved to the new campus. But now I understand that 25
Right.
trees have been planted. So could you tell me a little more about one, the reason for that one Tembusu tree, and then how it's translated into impacting students and what and why 25 trees have been planted now?
Okay, when SME shifted from the Bukit Timah campus to its current campus at Bras Basah, and when they were constructing the current campus, the Tambusu tree that originated there was a heritage tree.
How old was it? How many years? You
I think it's close to 100. It's close to 100.
Wow.
And
And what is the significance of a Tembusu tree? What is the like you is it just because that particular tree is heritage or there is some kind of old wives' tales about a Tembusu tree?
The characteristics of Tambusu trees, right? They are long living, they are life giving. Okay.
Ah,
There are two aspects. Long giving part, that's the reason why they end up being heritage trees. Their roots are very intertwined deeply. Their ability to sustain life is amazing. They've weathered storms, and Singapore has this different kind of weather
yeah,
extremities.
yeah.
And that tree, since I've entered SMU till now, I've never seen anything touch wood happen to that tree. It stood still. We've had massive rains in Singapore. We have one of the highest lightning strikes in the world. And you would see that tree stand there steadfast. It's got a beautiful arc, like its foliage provides a beautiful arc. And when you stand below it, it really shelters you. And that's where, that whole entire aspect of what the characteristics of a tambusu tree are. It signifies that longevity, that sturdiness, that stabilityness, and its ability to take care of others. And I guess that's related back to what SME is about, right? We have the circle values, collegiality, integrity, responsibility, commitment, leadership, and excellence. And this all goes back to very similar characteristics of what the Tambusu tree represents. So in 2025, SMU celebrated its 25th anniversary. So keeping in mind that that tree that has been there, the university decided in honor of the major donors that have contributed to SMU, one tree would be planted for them. So 25 trees, SME's 25th anniversary for 25 of our big donors. And that's a way of creating a tribute, I would say. But it's also to reinforce and remind that 25 years young, there is still a very long way to go. And the trees are going to grow and provide hopefully the same level of support that first tree has provided.
And so that first tree is now on the SMU new campus, or it's still.
Yes, it's in the new campus. It's in an area called Campus Green, which in a way is in the center of the university, all the buildings, the center, it's Campus Green, and that's where the tree remains.
So it basically, like you said, is it provides shelter, and at the same time, there is a certain sense of
Peace,
protection. And,
um,
and now there are
knowing that your back is always covered.
always covered, yeah, that you're always taken care of. And so now there are 20, so including that, now there are 25,
At 26.
26. Okay. Wow, that's amazing. That is such an interesting. And as I was talking to Desmond as well, I think Singapore is unique in a sense of being a city country which is green. It's, I think the focus on the tree planting has been there for such a long time, since the inception of this country,
Yes.
and which is not that long ago, just 60 years ago. I
Correct.
think the whole focus of, if one tree for some reason is sick, and it, or for some reason needs to be uprooted, then the what are they called, the national parks ensure that there is another tree planted in its place.
Correct.
So I think that is, and as I walk around the island, go to nature reserves or go to botanical gardens or just walk in the city itself, some of the trees are so fascinating.
Indeed.
And I get a lot of what I photographs I take are essentially of the trees,
Wow.
because I find whether it's the root, and every tree has a different shape, it gives out a different message, a different kind of energy. And I think that's the beauty of Singapore, to be such an urban city, but it is engulfed in nature. And
Hence, city in a garden.
a city, and that's why it's called the Garden City as well.
Yes.
Yes, but so it's, yes, curated gardens, but it's also got the natural, the forests.
Yeah.
And then you are like coexisting with the creatures from the forest, being tropical. And of course, then people shouldn't think that they're all over the city, because people listening to this conversation will be from all over the world,
Yes.
and who haven't been to Singapore or not familiar with Singapore have to understand that it's like we leave them in the forest. And as long as you don't disturb the natural habitat, which is the whole beauty of this city country. And I think to be so close to nature gives a sense of calmness, in, despite, again, like I said, despite it being so urbanized, it still gives you a sense. You'll always find a street corner, or you'll always find a nature reserve, or you'll always find somewhere to go to breathe,
Yeah, and that's the beauty. And in fact, they have got the Plant a Million Trees initiative, for example, where even every child who's born in Singapore as a Singapore citizen has the ability to even dedicate a tree to themselves. They
Yeah.
can go for the plants. So it's teaching the kids from young the value of nature, the ability to coexist.
Yeah.
That's where, that's the whole
Yeah.
beauty about this.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I totally agree with you. If you could plant one idea, which is not a tree, for the next generation, what would it be?
Can I have two?
Yes, you may have more than two if you if you like.
Okay, the first one is going back to opportunity, right? And as I said earlier, don't assume how opportunity exists, how it will come. Just always keep an open mind. That flexibility in mindset thinking, that ability to see out of the box, to see things with different lenses, it's going to be what the future is all about. And every corner, every individual will present an opportunity of somewhat. And then it's up to you. The journey of life, the journey of yours is yours to make,
Yeah.
correct? And that is where it's up to you to then determine, do you want to take that opportunity or not? The aspect is the notion to anyone and everyone who thinks about wanting to give back.
Yeah.
It's not about who, it's not about what, it's about not about how. It's just the desire to give back. The moment you have that, everything and anything will appear as an opportunity.
Yeah.
And giving back can be in any form. It doesn't mean you need to have money. It doesn't mean you need to have all the resources in the world. Just even making one small impact, and collectively, if all of us do it, the world
A
will be
much
a
better
much more
place.
place. Yes.
Yeah. No, and it's like you don't have to shout about it. And you just do it in a very quiet way, but it's you personally trying to make that difference. And when that difference is seen, automatically, it's not that you shouldn't do it because you want credit for it. You shouldn't do it because you want it to be completely splashed in social media to say, oh my God, he did this or she did this. Or
Correct.
it's a very quiet way of contributing. And I think that is probably the biggest impact that you can ever have. Because
True.
then that will speak for itself. If someone's life has changed, then someone else will look at that and say, oh, if this person's life can change, then why don't I try and change someone else's? So I think
Indeed.
it's that cascading effect, which is very important to do. And I think, Avnish, what you're doing also goes to show that you are doing it quietly. And of course, you've got a platform, and a platform that you had, you have a connection with. It's education, it's somewhere that grew you to be the kind of person that you are, gave you opportunities, but your ability to be able to use that platform to give back, I think, is very creditable. So
Thank you. I'm just hoping to just do my part to make a small difference
yeah.
and hope to inspire others.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure this conversation is going to inspire a lot of people, not just in Singapore, but wherever they may be listening in from. So I really appreciate your time, Avnish. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
And continue to do the good work.